Hello, this Allsmiles Therapy Center, we've come back again to you. We've been walking a journey of self-discovery and all that, our services and everything. And today we have a very exciting sitting because for the previous one, it's been myself and you people. But today we have a very great team, a very dedicated Allsmiles Therapy Center team. And I will start by introducing them after me. Triza Kenika is my name, and my qualification is in counseling psychology, master's level.
Sylvia Maloney is my name, and my qualification is in clinical psychology, master's level.
My name is Krishna Rawal, and my qualification is also in clinical psychology at the master's level as well.
Yeah, so Allsmiles Therapy Center is an accredited therapy center to offer therapy and all the services that we've been discussing all through. Krishi and Sylvia, they are some of our therapists that we have in our center, and we are so many of us. We couldn't have brought this to you because we still had to leave others attending to our clients. Hence, it's a very big team. And before you start questioning, is it a lady-driven center? No. We have male therapists in our centers, and we are many of us. So as time goes by, you'll get to meet all of us. So today we are having a very interesting topic. We are talking about therapy, just therapy. Because following the previous videos that we've done, we have people coming to inquire, what is this about therapy? What is done there? How do we need to come dressed and all that? So it's that time we can enlighten them more so that they can get to know what therapy entails. And so we'll just start by who attends therapy.
I think before even saying who attends therapy, I think we need to look at the fact as what is therapy. You see, because it's very easy to say that, okay, yes, I've got friends that advise me, I've got families that advise me. Why should I go to a therapist? The difference between getting advice from people and going to an actual therapist is that a therapist provides with a structured approach to evaluating and dealing with issues from a non-judgmental perspective. So there is a certain structure to how we deal with these issues. Advice giving is something that we don't do as therapists. In fact, on the contrary, what we do is we sort of equip the individual with skills so that they can make well-informed decisions themselves.
Great.
And I think you might want also to look into the fact that therapy is a place where you get to discover yourself more. Hence, why therapy? Because you're getting to answer some of the questions that may be troubling you, and that as Christians talked about, we as therapists give you what we call unconditional positive regard. In that we are not here to judge you, but here to understand you and help you to make meaning of your life as well. Yes.
Yeah, and therapist gets to listen to you, and in the process they assess, they use different methods of interventions so that you can work together. We work together. It's a team, and which is led by yourself as our client. We work together to ensure that we achieve better results.
Yes, definitely. It's very important to remember that it's client-oriented and that you as the client actually direct your therapy as well. We're just the helpers at the end of the day.
And hence, because we're not your friends, we get to see your blind spots that your friends would not get to see, which helps you to make a better informed decision about what is really troubling you or what is really ailing, and making everything around you not to function.
Exactly, and we do it in a very professional way.
Very true.
Definitely. I think we've all been trained to sort of approach these issues from a very non-judgmental sort of, is it subjective view as well? Yeah.
And objective.
And objective view. So we help basically provide a comprehensive view of a client's, an individual sort of, not just issues, but also their environment, themselves as a person, and things like that as well. And that could also, now we can talk about who attends therapy, you see. So there's this misconception that you have to be ill to come for therapy. And I think that's slowly changing now in today's day and
But
age.
therapy is for mad people.
Yes, for the
Yeah.
mentally ill, you see, for
Exactly.
people who are suffering from severe disorders or things like that, you know. And I think that's a very negative stigma associated with therapy, so to speak. Whereas in reality, therapy is actually for everybody, you know, so to speak. Like even just for someone who's trying to understand themselves better, you could go for therapy and work through this with a therapist, you know, stuff like goals and value clarification and things like that, you know, so you explore what do you value as a person, you know, and that allows you to go on this journey of self-discovery that you may have probably not gone on if you were by yourself. You see, so, and the other people that actually come is someone who wants to sort of also create meaningful connections in their lives. Because a lot of the times we've grown up and we think we know how to connect with people, but then you begin to realize that you actually don't know how to connect with people, and that causes a sort of a disturbance or a disconnect in your life, you know. And we as therapists can sort of help you bridge that gap, the gap, you know, to sort of help you create more meaningful relationships. Are you getting the best out of your relationships, you know, and things like that as well. The other type of client that does look or seek therapy, someone who wants to improve their day-to-day functionality. You know, someone who wants to sort of like do better, be better. You know, I have this saying that I like to sort of say, the only person you should be competing with is yourself.
Sure.
You know, the only person that you should be comparing yourself with is yourself, you know.
Exactly.
So we sort of help you do that in a sort of structured, non-judgmental perspective, you know. Also, another type of person that might be seeking therapy is someone who sort of needs help processing events in their life. Like we all know that society is overwhelming, life is overwhelming, you know. Things happen that are unavoidable. And a lot of the times human beings are unable to deal with some of these events in their life, you know. And it doesn't have to be a negative event. It could be a positive event, like you could be moving countries, or you could be going abroad to study, you know, or things like that. And you might have trouble coping with that. You might be a victim of culture shock, you know, or something along the lines. And we as therapists sort of help bridge that. You know, we sort of help people come to terms with their situations, and so that they can function better in a day-to-day life. Are they eating well? Are they sleeping well? Are they getting their day-to-day tasks accomplished, you know? So our team can sort of like assist with that as well. And of course, the final kind of client that comes to us is people who are suffering from mental illnesses. However, it's important to remember that that's not all that therapy is. It's not just for people suffering from severe mental disorders. In fact, it is recommended that if you are struggling in your life, you should go and see a therapist so that it doesn't become a disorder.
Sure.
You see? So when you nip it in the bud, when it's still a little issue, so, you know, and it's not so overwhelming, that becomes, it's a preventative measure for, as compared to treating a disorder after it's already existing, you know? Yeah.
So what I hear you saying is that somebody who's coming to therapy is somebody who wants to better understand him or herself, process through what they've been through, what they're going through, as well as also somebody who's looking to make meaning of their life.
Yes, yes.
So I don't have to be mad to come for therapy.
Yes.
And so that takes away the stigma that therapy is just for
crazy people. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And also the question of who defines how crazy one is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
you need to have come for therapy because that's a diagnosis that takes
is.
place.
But, you know,
So
in
before
all
then-
honesty, Teresa, we live in a mad world. You know,
Yeah.
our environment. So what is crazy?
Exactly,
as
that's
well.
the thing.
Yeah.
So who determines the degree of craziness and all that?
Exactly.
And again, you know, we've had scenarios where people feel, on my way, will I find people? And there are people there, you know, because there is that stigma as you're talking about.
Associated with
You
it.
also do not want to be labeled as that person who goes
to
therapy.
therapy. Yes.
However, I think, and I feel it's high time we embrace therapy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this video is also very important. You
Oh,
know,
sure.
reaching out to our clients and sort of telling them that, you know, therapy is not just for people who are at extremes.
Exactly.
It is also for the layman, the day-to-day man, you know, the regular worker, someone who's sort of just struggling to, you know, deal with their day-to-day activities of life, people who are just generally overwhelmed as well. You know, therapy can be for them as well.
Yeah, and talking of that, I do encounter cases where someone just come and they tell us, I was asked by my employer to come for therapy, so
Yes.
absolutely do not know
What
why
is-
I'm
yes,
here.
Yes.
And I tell you, the moment we start assessing and unpacking, they even go way beyond. Like in a
Yes.
scenario, an employer is only paying for 4
4
sessions.
sessions. Yes.
They even end up coming for much more sessions because in the process, it's a journey of self-discovery. They get to understand themselves much more, and people that they live with and the surrounding. And that understanding also brings answers. Is what we normally talk about. You can never add the dots going forward. You can only add the dots going backwards.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Yes.
get more meaning and more sense to why things happen the
The
way
way
they
they do.
did,
Yes.
and the way they do,
Yes.
and how you found yourself in such a current position.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
I think I would also take it in terms of joining the dots
Yes.
Oh.
so that you can move forward.
Yes.
You
Sure.
have to be able to connect the dots
Yeah.
so that they can make meaning out
Out
of
of it.
And I think therapy is demystifying yourself, trying to look deeper into you and how you connect with people around you, so that it's not only for the mad people, because somehow stress does in a way make us dysfunctional,
Yes.
both at our work, at our family level, and also at school. And that's where therapy comes in and helps you to connect the dots that are throwing you off balance, that you're not able to function properly in the society.
I agree. I think therapy does give you a bit of a comprehensive picture of who you are, what's going on around you, internally and externally,
Exactly.
Because a lot of the times we've got internal emotions and then you've got the environment as well, which is causing these internal emotions.
Sure.
So therapy kind of helps you merge the connections between what's going on internally and what's going on externally as well. Because a lot of the times, I don't know, we find ourselves maybe being angry or upset and we don't even know why we're angry or upset, It could be things that have led up to this situation and have gathered, and then you take it out on someone that doesn't even, deserve it.
Project.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. You see, so therapy sort of helps you marry those. Like, is this happening because this happened in my environment, or is this happening in my environment because this is happening inside of me? And it's all connected at the end of the day. So I'm very happy to hear you guys talking about connecting the dots, because that's exactly what therapy is.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And still something else I've thought about. When you find yourself doing something that you know very well, you're doing it not for the main purpose, but you're doing it because you want to distract yourself
Yes.
from what you're facing.
Yes.
You do not have the courage to face your fears or what you feel you're going through.
Yes.
You now start into other things, which in therapy language we term as defense mechanism. You just want to indulge in alcohol and all that.
Yes.
Because
Substance
it
use
should
is
make-
a defense mechanism.
exactly, it should make
Yes.
you feel high and sweet, and for some moment it should make you forget what you're going through.
Escapism.
It's just a short term,
Definitely.
defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And when you're back sober and all through,
Yes.
again, whatever you've been dealing with, and now
back.
you
It's
it
still
even
there.
goes deeper
It's still there.
because
Yeah.
you've spent money buying alcohol, whatever the
Exactly.
substance that you are using.
Exactly. And you
and all
didn't
that.
deal with whatever it was beforehand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can end up again being addicted. So it's a trouble on a
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah.
It is.
I think it's coming also from the society where we have been cultured. You do not talk about your problems.
To others.
Oh,
yes.
yes, sure.
Yes.
It eats you on the inside, so people
Yes.
just get to see it when it's exploding.
Exactly.
And therapy is a safe spot where you can come and talk about what you feel you can't share with somebody else, because of the safe space that you get
Yeah.
within the therapy room itself. You can be assured that it's not going to be what you've brought out to the therapist is going to be onto another person. So your secret is like safe,
Yes.
or your
Exactly.
issue is safe,
Yes.
and you don't have to feel like you are the villain in your story.
In your story, yes, definitely.
And now talking about that, we can talk about what to expect. What to expect when now we know who goes for therapy.
Therapy, yeah. What to expect during
What to
therapy
expect
now.
during therapy.
Yeah.
And I'll start by saying, just like any other in hospitals, schools, any other institution, immediately you enter, the first thing is introduction.
Yes.
So in our introduction, we do it in a more of clinical intake.
Yes.
And how ours differs with any other introduction, we just do not take, your bios like your name, date of birth, ID, and all that. No, as we go deeper, and the reason why therapists still want to go deeper is because that's when therapy starts.
Yeah.
That's when assessment starts.
Yes.
The moment client enters into a therapy room, my assessment starts from that particular moment because you so want to get to understand the client you're dealing with. This is a journey. This is someone who is entrusting you with all their private life. And in a way, maybe they're coming to say things they've never gotten a chance of saying before, shared with anyone. And so before you even get to that, you also want to understand them, where they're coming from, and everything.
That is very important.
Yeah, and that's how, when we're doing this clinical intake, we start right from childhood.
Yes.
Like, tell us the much you can remember yourself
from your childhood.
when you're a kid and all that, and we
go from there.
It's an all round, such that even by the time you're talking to this client, you already know where they are. It's easy. It also helps us as therapists to be able to assess.
Definitely, you cannot help a client that you do not know. That's something that I firmly believe in. It's important to get to know your client's personality, their background, and things as well, so that you're in a better position to help them as well. Usually, when even you go to a medical doctor, they do ask you, have you had any previous conditions? Have you had, so that they have a comprehensive view of how to help you better.
And I think one of the things that we would like to settle you, so that you don't wonder, why are you looking into my background? Because your presenting issue has something to do with your background. And if I ignore that, in therapy we say the present is important and the past is only important if it illuminates into the present. And that's the reason why we would go a little bit back into your childhood. If I don't find anything there, then I'm dealing with the present issue, and I know along the way I'll not be surprised by anything that comes about.
And it also helps prevent misdiagnosis.
Exactly.
Yeah. The more forthcoming you are with your therapist, the more likely you are to actually get an accurate diagnosis from your therapist as well. Because and that involves you, even in therapy, the client must come as their authentic self. And I know a lot of the times people are afraid to come as their authentic selves because there may be things that you've experienced or done that may be shameful, or something that you don't want anybody to know. But that is where now a trained group of specialists come in, and that's where now we guarantee you confidentiality, as well.
So we're talking about confidentiality. So somebody may wonder, what does all that mean? It means that your biodata is safe. What you tell me is definitely not going to be a gossip session. It remains within our boundaries of the work that we set together. You sign a consent form, and I also get to sign a consent form that says that also holds me accountable to keeping your details and our conversations private, because that is expected of me, and that is one of the ethics over a psychologist. And so I think somebody may ask, when do we break it?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. There is only one case where we actually break confidentiality, and that is when we feel as though a client is going to harm themselves or other people. And even before we break that confidentiality, it is our job to tell the client that we are breaking that confidentiality. So that is like an emergency, severe, immediate sort of issue that needs to be sort of addressed. And that's why also in our consent form, we also do take an emergency contact. However, that emergency contact it's not a school. So we don't call them when you're misbehaving or something like that. We only call them if we feel that you are going to harm yourself or somebody else, because ultimately preservation of life is important as well.
Yeah, and that's a condition or a clause that we disclose to the client. Immediately you come, even
First
before
session,
you
even
tell
before
us
we start,
why you come for therapy. Why do we
even before biodata collection.
Exactly, even before biodata collection, to ensure if whatever has brought you to therapy has something to do with you harming yourself
Yes.
or harming others, get to know that now
Yes.
gets to our limits of confidentiality, and definitely it's our responsibility to ensure that now we disclose so that we can prevent the harm.
Definitely.
So, and the reason why we do that, and we do it immediately before you sign, is to ensure if maybe for one reason or the other you are still not comfortable with that,
yes.
you can decline to
You
take
can
up
decline. Yeah,
the
you can
therapy
decline
session.
to take up the therapy session. But it is also important to know that if you are somebody that potentially could or has, harming tendencies, then that means that it's a severe matter and we need to get you institutionalized. And in order to get you institutionalized now, we sort of also need to get the family's consent, and we need to get all those other parties involved, so to speak. However, saying that, it is also important to notice that other than that, anything goes in the therapy room.
And
The good, the bad, the ugly, come tell us everything.
on that, we've had people talk about if I'm about to harm myself or others, it's the keyword is about to.
About to.
We
Not if
deal
you've
with
done previous harm.
severe
Yes.
cases.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I won't say like though it does happen. I mean, I killed already ABCD.
Yes.
It's not in our responsibility. We
We're
are
not-
not
we're bound by- we're
police,
still bound
we're
by
not CIDs
confidentiality.
and all that. It's not our responsibility to go disclosing,
Yes.
oh, I know who killed so and
Yes.
so. Or
And that goes back to the non-judgmental aspect
Exactly.
of it. Yeah, because we don't judge. We're not supposed to judge. We're trained to not judge as well. You see? So if you do have stuff like serious stuff like that in your background and you're reformed or you're trying to reform, and things like that, we can help. It's only now when we see that you are about to the future, or the near present, that is when now we sort of break confidentiality.
Sure.
Yeah.
And one may ask, if you have a minor, are they going to sign the consent form? And that is where we talked about a minor will always come with a guardian,
Yes.
and the guardian will sign on behalf of the minor. And we also have like the mentally challenged, and that could be under schizophrenic. We may have somebody who's
Incoherent,
severely
yeah.
depressed,
Yeah.
or they are incoherent. So we will not be forcing them to sign a consent form, because then it doesn't make sense, because they have to be able to understand
the
that
concept
which
form.
they
Yes.
sign.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
So that kind of person will definitely need a
Yes.
guardian or somebody
Yes.
who walked in with them to consent on
Yes.
their behalf.
And it's important to remember that we only need them present for the consent. However, the sessions can be held alone with the minor,
exactly.
provided that an adult has provided consent. So even if the minor does want to have individual sessions with the client without the parent being present, we can do that, But in terms of the first time and the clinical intake and things like that, yes, definitely we need permission. We do, yeah.
And also with that, it helps because it's a journey, and when you given us consent, if we feel we really need to work on this person who is a minor, it's a teamwork.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It has to be a holistic approach, because
Exactly.
you can't just deal with the minor themselves. You also have to deal with the minor's parents, you see, because when we talked about dealing with a person's environment, who is the minor's immediate environment? It's their
Exactly.
parents, it's
Parents.
the family, the siblings, the parents, you see. So yes, definitely, yeah.
So what else do we expect from therapy? So we're going to look at feelings, and we're looking at the here and now.
Sure.
So we're looking at feelings, and when we talk about feelings, we're dealing with the here and now, meaning present. What is it that is destabilizing you and throwing you off? So that's what the therapist will help you process better. And then that goes down to you being authentic.
That is
And
important.
what does that mean? Somebody may ask, what's authentic self? The you, the real you is what we'll be looking for. So don't come glossing, pretending to be who you're not. Well, that is part of it at some time, but what therapists will be looking for, remember, for me to understand you better, you have to be your real self.
Sure.
Because as we talked about, unconditional positive regard, I'm not here to judge you, I'm here to listen to you, to understand you, and to walk with you.
And that also plays onto the authenticity of the therapist themselves as
Oh,
well.
sure,
You
sure.
see? Because what could also, like an authentic therapist will keep your confidentiality, will treat you with integrity no matter what it is that you've been through in life, you know? And that's our job, to sort of give that integrity back to you as well, so that you now can also be your authentic self as well. You see?
Exactly, and it all starts with them gaining confidence with us.
Of course.
Yeah, that's the only time they are able to open freely
Of course.
and to be themselves.
There has to be a connection between therapist and client, and that's
Sure.
why a lot of the times when people go for therapy and they say that therapists, like a lot of clients that have come to me have said, we've seen other therapists before and it hasn't worked. And a lot of the times I tell them that it's, you know, just as people come in different shapes and sizes, therapists come in different shapes and
Oh yeah,
sizes as
yeah,
well.
sure.
You know, and their approaches are different as well. So maybe one therapist might use a different approach, another therapist might look at a humanistic approach, you know, and based on that, if you're matched with the wrong therapist, then therapy will not work. So what we do is we sort of also match you to the correct kind of therapist, so that you can make the most out of, you know, your therapy session as a client as well.
Yeah, exactly. And just like you're saying, when you're talking about here and now, we refer to how you're feeling
The
You know?
present, in the
Exactly.
moment, yes.
at the
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
We start from there. That gives us a starting point before we even get to know what happened, when,
to
who
lead
did
you to feel that
what,
way. Yes,
exactly.
let's
What are the
process.
triggers?
Yeah.
And actually, that's what we term as presenting, you know, the presenting issues.
Yes.
Yeah, it is our responsibility as a therapist to get to know now how to get deeper into the underlying issues.
Issues.
But
Yes.
before we get there, we just want to, how are you feeling? You know,
Yes.
what has brought you today?
Yes. The
And
first
that's why-
role actually is to make the client comfortable.
Oh, sure.
So if the client is experiencing any form of discomfort in their lives, the first step in therapy as a therapist would be to address those discomforts, so that now the client can begin this journey of self-exploration with a certain peace of mind.
Exactly, and that's why authenticity is very important.
Yes.
Because if your therapist has to diagnose you, it has to come from that authentic self that you've presented to the therapist. Remember, we're not magicians, but we work with what you give us, which is very important. And the reason we talk about your feelings and you being authentic.
And still on the same, we have some people who will come for therapy and they live in a way feeling inadequate because they're so overwhelmed by emotions, they're unable to even say a word. They just break down and they cry. We want to assure you that's the beginning of therapy.
Yes.
That
In
is
fact,
therapy as
that's
well.
a therapy session. When you
Yes.
just go, you've not even told your therapist why you've gone for therapy.
Exactly.
You're just breaking down and all that to be able to express your emotions in whichever way you know. It's therapy on its
On its
own.
own. It's
Yeah.
also important to remember that it's a safe space to break down in. You see, it's non-judgmental. We're not going to judge you, you know. And a lot of the times, breaking down, although looked as negatively by society, in a therapist's office, breaking down is actually cathartic. It's like a release.
Exactly.
You know, it's the beginning of you releasing these emotions, so that now you can learn how to process them.
And the reason we call it a safe spot, because remember, you don't show people your inner person
Of course.
unless you feel safe with them and you have connected
With them, yes.
Sure.
Yes.
So, what skills can I learn if I'm coming into therapy?
Well, there's several, yes.
So,
Yes.
we're
People do
looking
have
at
to learn skills.
empowering you psychologically. And somebody might wonder, what is that? You know, will help you understand yourself better. There is walking with you, identifying your issues. Remember, this is what we call self-awareness, making you more aware of the issues around you, of the triggers that lead to certain situations, and also helping you come to terms with who you really are.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And getting to know what you're facing,
Yes.
what causes that,
Yes.
and just being aware.
Yes.
You know, we have moments where, you know, a client starts even nodding with you. and they'll even say, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I see. And in time, you can come for therapy thinking others have so wronged you,
Yes.
just to learn you're actually the toxic self.
Yes.
You're the enabler. You're the one making these things happen.
But that happens because
Yeah.
when people make decisions from an uninformed place, they usually don't know how to go about it or what consequences that is going to have. And ideally, as therapists, that's where like self-awareness and that comes in, because we sort of help you learn yourself better, so
Sure.
that you can cope now with what is your external environment, your internal environment, and etc., things like that. I do like to say that usually self-awareness is the first step to now, sort of fixing anything in your life. Knowledge is power.
Very
Exactly.
true. And now that would make you self-aware, so we give you coping skills that make you a better you
Yes.
and a better person,
Yeah.
a better friend to relate with.
Sure.
So some of the coping skills that we give stem from mindfulness. They could be little exercises. Like if I have so much anger in me, other than project it at the people around me, I might want to take a walk away. If I'm going to see something that's going to be regretful, that is a process that as we teach you to be more aware of your triggers and what just sticks you off, then we also give you mechanisms that can help you calm you down, make you, reason through, even if it is you who's been offended, but helps you to self-regulate
Yes.
so that you can be in a better position to function better.
Yes.
Because
Exactly.
one of the things stress that does in our lives is it makes us dysfunctional,
Yes.
in that we can be toxic with people around us, we can project our anger to people.
Even fatigue, which is one of the
Oh,
biggest
yeah.
symptoms
Sure.
of stress. You could just be too tired to even cope with your day-to-day life, And something as simple as that could mean maybe, now you're struggling with your job, you're struggling with your family, because you just can't seem to show up as well. And we kind of sort of assist with that. A lot of the times what happens with coping strategies as well, as we grow up, we've learned certain coping strategies. And a lot of the times those coping strategies have worked for us, but in the long run, they cause more harm than good.
Exactly.
You see? So what we as therapists do is we provide you with now coping strategies that help you even later on in life. Instead of, if I'm stressed, instead of let me go hit the bar, and get
This is how to
absolutely,
go about it.
what do I do to manage this stress instead of going to go and drown my sorrows in a bar,
So what I hear is that we've got positive coping mechanisms
and negative coping mechanisms.
Distractors.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And a lot of the times we tend to use, because obviously we're not self-aware now, we tend to go towards the destructive coping mechanisms because they
Exactly.
provide us comfort.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be substance abuse. You could pick a negative,
Yeah,
a destructive
it could be anything.
coping mechanism
Mhm.
like silence.
Like Netflix binging. You just sit
Oh, yeah.
and watch Netflix all day, and every day because you want to escape into this world of fantasy or a movie or a world that is
Very
not
true.
your own, you see, and that's a coping strategy.
Yeah.
It's your way of defending yourself and saying, I can't deal with my life right now. My mind wants to go into this story that Netflix or this series is telling me, you see. And although that's okay and you can do your Netflix in moderation, too much of it could
Yeah.
lead to being a problem, you see.
And also withdrawal.
Yeah.
At times we just feel, I just want to be alone. Because the more I go to people, the more this thing keeps on
Yeah.
coming back.
Isolation and withdrawal.
So the best
Yes.
thing, you apply the avoidant mechanism.
Yes.
I'm going to withdraw myself from people, and not only withdrawing, I'll also avoid them.
Yeah.
Not knowing the moment you start doing that.
You're isolating, and isolation now causes more problems and comes with its own
Exactly.
set of problems.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
and you're actually one step. You've now moved a step ahead
Exactly.
into mental disorders, and you
Exactly.
know what that can cause in the long run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. And you also, when you come into therapy, what you expect is that you also learn to face your fears.
Yes. Yes.
Other than, because when you don't want to face your fears, then you use different coping mechanisms like Netflix binging,
Exactly.
and
Yeah, Netflix binging,
substance
alcoholism, lots of
abuse,
things. Lots of
isolation because you don't want to deal with what's going on in your
things.
life. So
Mhm.
that therapy is one of the places where you and the therapist are able to confront that which you are trying to run away from. Because remember, it is sometimes our fears have a way of taking us off from the balance, be it socially, be it work-wise,
Mm.
be it academically, because when we are not balanced, we kind of withdraw from people. And facing your fears is one thing that you and the therapist will be looking at.
Yes.
And as we say again, from an unconditional positive regard.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so I'm not here to judge you, I'm here to make you understand and see your fears with a much bigger lens. Because you could be seeing them from a smaller lens because you've got the distractors
Yes.
next to you.
On the like blinders that they put on
Very
horses.
true,
Yes.
very true.
Yes.
So that's one of the things that you would expect from therapy. And then the bigger part I like about therapy is the psychoeducation.
Oh
Yes,
yes,
definitely.
you get to learn more,
Definitely.
much more, get to understand. You
Yeah.
know.
As I said earlier, knowledge is power.
Yes.
Exactly, that's the thing. And you know, when you're talking about psychoeducation, because it's more about learning and getting to know what exactly is happening within and you know with people that you are with and your surrounding. A time may not be about taking away the pain.
Yes.
It's all about being aware about it and now having mechanism on how to navigate it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And just like the term psychoeducation, so you get to learn more on different elements around. So that also psychoeducation also makes us to be more empathetic with people around us, understanding, lend a hand, and above all, it also helps you as a client understand yourself better. So that even if somebody projects a judgment kind of thing to you, you are a little bit balanced because you know they're coming up from a position of they don't know so much into it. It's just a little of what they've had, but you have a better understanding of what you're going through. And also, you also get to educate the public and the community around you.
Yes.
Because there's quite a lot of ignorance when it comes to mental health illness and the stigma that goes with it. So it helps you feel balanced. The psychoeducation helps you feel balanced. Therapy begins to work for you because you're not constantly trying to protect yourself or to hide yourself. At the end of the day.
Exactly. The other thing also I've noticed about the psychoeducation bit is also psychoeducation sort of also helps every client that I've sort of psychoeducated in the office when they come to see me. There's a sort of relief that I see, projected because they realize, oh, we're not alone.
Yes.
There are other people that go through this, and there's a whole study that people have done
around it.
Sure.
So because a lot of the times what happens is people seem to think that they suffer and they suffer alone. They don't realize that there are other people out there that are going through this as well. And in terms of like psychoeducation, that sort of provides you guys as clients now with some sort of relief that, hey, there's a solution. Hey, there's a name to these symptoms. There's, and that is usually the first step to now sort of dealing with them, managing them, and living a more productive life.
And why would I want to psychoeducate you, certainly ask as a therapist? Because I also want you to be able to learn the triggers so that you don't come when you are regressed completely or you are at the bottom, that you're able to nip it in the nick of time.
Yes.
And I think that's the key thing and the most powerful thing about psychoeducation, because it gives you as the client power to help and process what you're going through in a much better and informative way.
Yes, definitely.
So having said what therapy is, what to expect, who goes for therapy and all that, now it's time to let you know what is Allsmiles Therapy Center, what we do. And we offer different services. or rather, ours is all about therapy services packaged in a different way. We see children, teens,
couples, yes.
adults, couple. So we have individual therapy sessions. We have for couple, for groups, for corporates, which means it's a 360 degree.
Yes.
We see each and every person.
Yes.
And when you talk about therapy, doesn't mean that we are a number of therapists. Doesn't mean that if Teresa is unable to offer things, Krishi won't do, or any other therapist in our center. And in a case of where need be, how we go about it, we call a multidisciplinary team,
Yes.
where we now discuss about a case anonymously.
Yes, we don't give your name. By
Exactly.
The way.
Or we do not label. Like,
we don't.
remember that client who came in dressed like this?
Yeah,
In
no.
any way, we may not
None
even
of that.
get to see. Maybe the only person who get to see you, our front desk
Receptionist.
Yeah,
Yes, that's
and maybe
it.
your therapist, not any other person.
Yes.
And so for that, you are sure even by the time you are referring your case, which you may not know because it's work that goes,
On
within us as
Yes.
therapists.
Yes.
We'll only do it as a case presentation, so that, and all it's at interest of,
It's in
Being
interest of
able
protecting the client.
to protect
Yes.
you
Yes.
and to ensure that you get the best from us.
Yes.
And also, I know apart from now telling them the services that we offer, someone might be thinking, you seem to be superheroes, in this case, superheroines. How do you deal with your personal issues? And also, how do we deal with the issues brought to us that we feel? Because equally, we are human. And by saying we are human, let me mention and say, just like you are saying, we are not judgmental. We are never biased. You might come with a belief that is very different from mine. We are in a world of a lot of things. We have the LGBT,
Q, yes.
Q community.
Yes.
We
Yes.
have much more.
Yes.
I mean, much more where
cultural
someone will come,
differences as well.
or even race,
Yes.
you
Cultural
know,
differences.
cultural differences, religion,
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah.
So when you come, I will have to attend to you from a perspective of being a therapist in some scenario, because at time our values may, I might feel maybe my value and your value is,
yeah.
I'm like imposing my values in you. I'm allowed to refer.
Yes.
In a scenario where if I'm to check you up
Ideally,
and I
you're
feel
supposed to refer when something like that happens.
yes,
Yes.
if I feel I'm imposing
Yes. Your
myself,
values.
my values in you, the best we do as therapists is to refer, so that we ensure we give you the best.
Yes,
Because
yeah.
we're not here to tell you this is the best, this is the wrong.
Yeah.
We are here to walk the journey
With
together.
you. Exactly.
Yeah, with you. So
I think the best way to settle our clients is that as a therapist, I will never impose my beliefs, my values, and my aspirations on you, because that's been unprofessional.
Yes. And
So
we've been
whether
trained
you
to not
believe,
do
whether
that.
you are gender fluid like we have in the new generation, that is not for me to be judgmental. It's for me to understand you. As we call it, unconditional positive regard.
Yes.
I am looking and I'm seeking to tell you you're in a safe spot where I'm not going to judge you. I want to hear and learn and know you better.
Yes.
So that is what guides us, because as therapists as well, we have a code of ethics and
Sure.
conduct that we abide with. And I think it's very important that for you to also know, when you come, you're going to get that professional outlook from us.
Yeah.
There's no judgment in the rule.
Yeah.
You are the most important. As the rule goes in counseling, the client
Dictates the therapy.
Exactly.
Yes. It's client oriented.
Yes.
So another thing also to note is that a lot of the times clients look at us and say, how can you understand, you've never been on the hot seat. You've never been in our seat, in the client seat. And it's important, I think, that for our clients to know that we have actually been in the hot seat, because we also go for therapy as clients. I mean, as therapists. Yeah. We do also go for therapy. And we have to also go for therapy as well, because at the end of the day, we are human too. And sometimes we need some assistance from a senior therapist now to sort of also, offload all this so that we can think from a clear perspective. So by the time you're getting into the office with us and you're sitting with a qualified accredited therapist, know for a fact that this therapist has also had therapy done.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I think it's also safe to say that I also get to sit as a client and not as a therapist
Exactly.
when I go for my
Personal therapy. Yes.
personal therapy.
Yes. Yes.
So I won't be telling my therapist, I think this is what is ailing me.
Yeah.
I will be sitting just like you sit on the other side as a client, giving somebody my issues and we together processing through my issues with my
With
therapist.
your therapist. And
With
that
my
also ties
therapist.
into the fact that therapy is not for crazy people. You
Oh,
know?
no, it's not.
It's even for people who are struggling with their career. Like when we need help coping, we also go see therapists as well, you know?
Yeah, and as we close this, it's also good to let our clients know, as much as we are therapists and all that, it's what we say in Swahili, kinyozi hadinyoyi. You know, like, yeah. So even none of our therapists goes for therapy at Allsmiles Therapy Center.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
we sort it
We go elsewhere.
because
Senior
at
therapists.
Allsmiles we
Yes.
are colleagues.
Yes.
Yeah, and the same applies to you because in most cases we've had scenarios where we have some family members who feel, but you're a therapist. You're seeing people who are going through loss and grief. Why not come and see your aunt or, you know, or
Yes.
your brother is, you know, into alcoholism
Yes,
and all.
yes.
Why are you not able to help them? So it's good to let you know because we are guided by code of ethics and all that.
Ethics are important. Just
And-
like doctors, we can't
Exactly.
treat people close to us because
Yeah,
we
we
can't
just
look at them from a
can't.
non-judgmental perspective.
And before you say that's very mean of us, what we do, even before we refer, we try and stabilize.
Yes.
And that's the
Exactly.
reason why we'll be getting somebody in, because sometimes they say familiarity breeds contempt.
Yes.
So even though my friend is going through grief, I'll try and stabilize them. But because I also don't want to be enmeshed, that's why I'll get somebody else who's professional, just like me, to walk with them the
Yes.
journey. So we're not entirely inhuman. Oh, I don't want to.
Oh yeah,
do it.
yeah, sure.
No.
That's not the
And
case.
we're by no means perfect
Yes,
as well.
yeah.
You know, our lives are not perfect because that's something that a lot of clients also seem to think like they have such perfect lives. No, we
No,
don't.
it's
We
not.
are also conditioned to be human at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
that does not mean that my relatives can come for therapy from our center.
No,
because
they can. But
they're
they
not
can see another
colleagues with other
therapist. Yes.
therapists.
Yes.
It's only me who can
Attend to them. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
And then I think the best part is to actually ease our clients and say we use code names.
Yeah, we don't
Exactly.
use your real
Yeah,
name.
sure.
Code name protects your identity.
Yeah, we
So
do
I'm the
not
only person
use
who
real
knows
names.
which code, the code name I gave you. So even if we would be doing a debrief, there's nobody who knows
oh yeah,
Who
Yeah.
is-
Who it is,
who
if
it
it's a
is. So
relative
the code
or
name
not.
I
Yes.
use guarantees your
Confidentiality.
confidentiality.
Yes, definitely.
yeah, and also to let them know when it's someone close to you, we excuse ourselves from the debrief. If
Yes.
it's my relative,
Yes.
then I excuse myself from the debrief
session.
to
Yes.
allow you to take it.
Yes.
So
So confidentiality is key.
very, very key.
Yes.
Wow, so thank you so much, and thank you also for the overwhelming support and love that you're getting from you people, inquiries. Just get to know we are here for you. We are ready to walk the journey with you, and we are here to serve you.
Yeah. Come say hi to our team one day.
Oh yeah, sure. Bye bye.